Pinkertons Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children.
Control? I'll tell you another story about my walk to the Ozarks. I traveled over 3 months without major incident. It wasn't a straight line to Colorado. Up and down, mountains and canyons, and occasionally down roads. I think it was between 500 and 600 miles as the crow flies. I wish I had wings. Foot slogging it took much, 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 much longer. I am not a long-legged woman. What's more, while I had exercised in the cabin, cardio was not in the cards. If it wasn't for the gear that I took from that cabin, if I wasn't vulture food, I'd be in the hands of the Masons, or some other power. I learned better scavenging skills. I got quick on my feet. I got good at aiming fast and killing faster. I smoked every meat I could get my hands on. Water was hard to come by, but by skipping from camp to camp, I found enough. I had to stay in areas for 2 or 3 days while I replenished food, and then moved on quickly. I took what I needed. I didn't think of the cost or harm I caused others. Then again, pulling 1 box out of the 5 boxes of .22 or a bottle of vitamins isn't crippling. My conscience tells me that if I meet them and somehow discover I scavenged from their campsite, I need to make restitution. That is fair. The real obstacle wasn't the distance. It was the other people. I was a certain amount of self-sufficient. Not entirely, but enough. The gun helped me the most. Being able to reach out and touch anything I needed to touch was an immense help. I believed with all my being that God kept park rangers and others from tracking me down. Besides my poaching, there was always a question of why was a teenager wandering some 500 miles of trackless waste, inhabited by Indians, all kinds of predators, and worse, Mormons. Thanks to my upbringing, I had a vague sense that I was coming closer to Mason Central, Denver. While Pike kept his headquarters somewhere in the Northwest, the sheer number of lodges around Denver is intense. They ring it like watchtowers, close to military bases, and growing township by township. A gas station, a post office, and a lodge in every little spot in the map. Well, what was my solution? Once more, God provided. It was a late night. I hadn't found a good place to camp. Too many cougar calls and other things. I found no safety. There was no way for me to rest. Jack could sleep in his little pouch, but I was always afraid of something sneaking in. If I was in the deepest sleep, could I defend him? No. I was looking for some place to sleep secure when I hit one of the highways and found a man tinkering on his truck. If I could hitch a ride. I approached him. I was careful to hide my gun under my jacket. It was hot, but the pockets were preferable to being undersupplied. "Hello!" The man banged his head and climbed down from the engine block. His electric lanterns held back only a little dark. I stayed out of the light. He squinted at me. His hand was not far from his belt. I could see the handle of something with oomph sticking past his love handles. Despite his gut, his fingers moved quick. If I was too aggressive, he'd pull. If he pulled, I lost my chance. "Jeez Louise, don't sneak up on a man like that. I don't Look, what do you want? I don't want to make assumptions here, but I'm a married man. Nope, wait. You're too far from the nearest rest stop to be a lot lizard. Come to the light. Let me look at you. Yes, sir. I was holding Jack at this point. He slept like the dead, but I could feel him breathe. He squirmed when I entered the light cone. Oh, I'm sorry. Look, little lady, you are awfully far from any civilization. I can smell the miles on you. Look, what's going on here? The truth would do better than a lie. I escaped from a commune. It was a cult that... Look, I'm trying to find my family. I just need a ride to Kansas. I put a waver of fear and trembling into my voice. I'm not sure how much was the girl and how much was fake. It worked. Something in his eyes changed. I'm going that way, but... He rubbed the back of his neck. His thick face looked conflicted. Look, I don't pick up women or... He looked at me properly. Young lady. It's dangerous out here. I do not mind riding in the trailer. It's not about that. And I wouldn't put anyone in there. You have no idea how hot it gets in there. His hand was away from his gun. I had a chance still. He was staring at Jack. I made sure he could see him. His eyes started to soften. A mountain lion screamed. It startled us both. It took all my willpower not to pull my gun. He had his handgun out, and he waved it and a flashlight across the rock piles around us. He made up his mind. Damn it. All right. I couldn't let you and the baby out here and keep a clean conscience. Keep your hands to yourself and off my stuff. I'll take you as far as Burlington. Thank you. If I can't get this dang engine to work, I'll be damned if you aren't armed. Keep an eye out. I don't want my butt bit by mountain lions. I'm in a dead zone. This is what I get going freelance. He dived into the guts of his diesel engine again. The man was right about being in a dead zone. I kept my eye out. Eyes stared at us from ridges around us. 2 eyes from behind boulders and trees. 4 eyes jumping from one shadow to another. 1 eye's at the ridge tops. 8 eyes from the deepest, darkest recesses. 3 eyes hovering in the night air. There 1 second, gone the next. Do you see anything? No. There wasn't any better answer. Maybe this trucker believed in Bigfoot, watched the X-Files, and listened to Art Bell more than he went to church. Not that I have anything against the vision of a man like Art Bell. I enjoy a few shows myself. Great way to spend a night while doing chores. Look, the trucker wouldn't know what to do with the knowledge of the Autre Terre. Giant spiders? Yes, all over the place. They ate goblins, chupacabra, and other medium-sized cryptids and monsters. They're ambush predators and hang out in hard-to-reach places. 3-eyed aliens? Control? You'd know better than me. 1 eyes? Cyclopses, the closest living relative of Nephilim. Hang out all over the mountains. They live in caves and hide in entrances with boulders. Their eye is super sensitive, so they only come out at night. I don't know what monster of the Autre Terre has 4 eyes. I don't want to know. Sometimes you know too much. When I was a kid and before I met Pike, I was brought to parties and made much ado about. They'd pat my head, ask my opinions about things I didn't understand, and then call me a very smart girl. I was delighted, loved, and beloved. I would be dressed in little outfits and put on a little chair, and they'd perform ceremonies. The sacrifices shocked me, but I hated chickens anyway. Nasty pecking birds. I would wave my little wand and cover my eyes when he cut it open for the divination. I had an ostentatious birth, you see. I knew my star signs better than I knew my real Gregorian calendar birth dates. So, because my mother was top pagan, I was given honors. Early on, when I began to remember my life, I was taken into a cave and a liquid was rubbed into my eyes. When I blinked it away, I could see more. I could see the shadow standing in the shadow of the woman who had performed the ritual. I saw things creeping in the corners. I saw the soul leave a body on death when one of my friends broke her neck after falling from a tree. Venla was not a Christian, Control. She danced the Baphomet with me and cursed God. She adorned me with jewelry for the parties and kept close while my mother flattered powerful men. I was not to be touched, unlike the others. I can't talk of her anymore. She's one of the few I really considered a sister. Maybe next time. Poison must be bled. Do you understand? I was ignorant of the world I was being groomed for. Now, I wish I was blind. The eyes got closer. 4 eyes gathered together into an 8-eye stack. The new spider moved as one and hid itself. Alien 3 eyes got close. Close enough for me to hit with my .22 rifle. I didn't dare fire on it. Who knew what it could do? One of the 4 eyes leapt over the truck. Another jumped, but something caught on the steel rim and burned up in a flash and a scream. The eyes were no more. Laughter. Who was laughing? No one. A pair of 2 eyes started to come closer. They moved smoothly from rock to chasm. They passed behind boulders and popped out the other side, too close. Space was a suggestion. They were ignoring it. "Whoa, Missy! Put the gun away. We're good to go." The trucker was nervous. One of the 3 eyes floated behind his head. I looked at him. It blinked. I didn't realize I had my short-barreled .22 out. We were in his cab in a breath. We didn't turn to each other. He hit the lock button. It was hot in the cabin, but neither of us wanted to roll down the windows. Seatbelt." "Yep." "Please put the gun away." "Give me a minute." He gripped the steering wheel. We still didn't look at each other. "There was something out there, wasn't there?" "Nope." "Liar." "Yep." "Okay. I don't want to know." He turned the key in the ignition. "Yep." He put on some rock and roll and started driving. It took us an hour before we started talking again. We reached a rest area. He had a sleeper cab. He was a gentleman and gave me the cot. I had a bit of privacy thanks to a shower rod and a bit of repurposed curtain. He had even wrapped sandwiches in a cooler, courtesy of his wife. Denver was a breeze. I stayed in the cab, head down, playing with an active jack, and staying unseen. No one stopped us. We stopped at a gas station off of Burlington. "I have business up north. This is as far as we go." I thanked him. It was hot for spring. The sun burned it down on the blacktop, and the blacktop sent the heat right back. He gave me a little money for water bottles. He had an inkling I wouldn't want to impose on anyone else. Despite my easy look, I was not at ease. There was an edge to the place. The heat was too intense. There was a truck with what looked like Mexican laborers snoozing in the shade. Strange swirls of light and clouds floated through the sky. No birds flew. No other cars were on the road. I could see Interstate 70. The cars were jammed bumper to bumper. Had they been that way even 10 minutes ago? The only one who moved was the trucker who gave me a ride. He hit some buttons on the diesel pump and started filling up. I walked into the gas station. I would need water for the walk. I had a backpack full of food and other necessities, and I knew I could scavenge along the way, but I wanted control. I wanted a candy bar. A greasy thing from a rolling heat, whatever they're called, and maybe a soda. Well, I didn't get a soda. I got water. There was a basket that read, "Honor System" on the counter. I honored it. The greasy meat stick felt like calories and fat. The candy bar, sent me to heaven and back down. Sugar was something I dearly missed. I was a pampered girl after all. And while I no longer wanted the life, sometimes the comforts came upon me like a rising tide. The sun was in the same place, the snoozing Mexicans in their truck, the cars on the interstate, and everything else. Nothing was moving. There was no natural sounds. No steps, no tires on gravel, no wind, no insects. My hand crept to my gun. Something clicked. My gun was out, pointing at the source. The diesel tank was full. That's it. I could have breathed a sigh of relief. Where was the trucker? I made sure to keep my gun under my coat. I slipped around to face the pumps and saw nothing. No one manned the pump. The trucker was nowhere to be seen. I checked the cab. Nothing. The trucker had been a kind man. My fear caused my spine to shiver. Then, Jack began to cry. I couldn't see it, but I could smell it. Blood. I bent down. Drops of blood boiled on the asphalt. They didn't congeal, but stayed liquid in the heat, and something else. This close to the ground, away from the diesel and the gasoline fumes blown by the wind, I could smell something sulfuric. Rotten eggs let out in the sun and sprayed with a skunk's juice. Ugh, disgusting. Rot and sickness developed as I stayed close. The smell of a veterinary office that needed cleaning. I heard something scuttle around the truck. My gun aimed at the sound, but they were gone. I covered Jack up. It would be hot, but the wrapping would protect him against the sound of the gun and danger. The practical part of me knew that if I died, he died. The impractical part of me hated the practical part of me with a passion. I needed to know what happened to the trucker, and I needed to kill it. Look, Control, if I am faithless to those who help me, then I will find no help in return. Something had changed in me since I ran away with Jack. I was becoming immune to people around me. I no longer wanted the warmth and love of people. Even now, I find the social desire easy to ignore. I think that you are the only woman who I speak with regularly. I socialize at church, but that's what the purpose. The purpose is to worship God, nothing else. I only remember their names because it would be strange and memorable if I didn't. I'm always busy. Jack has a thing. Oh, I have a thing to do, at the place. I'm very lighthearted with them, Control. But when there's a baby shower or someone needs a casserole, I do contribute something, even if I'm not sociable about it. Besides, if that thing could track me, I needed it dead, for me and Jack's sake. I don't sleep at night when my enemies know where I am. The stock of my gun slipped around the side. Nothing. The area in front of the bumper was clear, because it was above me. I turned and sighted the beast as it crept over the hood of the truck. The beast's skin glowed a sickly green and black. Its claws scraped the metal more quietly than its labored breathing. Its eyes, black as pitch and turned red. From the pinpoint of the iris, it spread out like a tide. I felt sick and nauseous. Its mouth opened, and fangs extended, hollow and dripping with a viscous poison. I stood my ground. The thing was an ambush predator, and its ambush had failed. I fired. The creature spasmed and fell back. The damn thing should have thought up a proper trick. I won't fall, screaming and shaking, to some monster. That bird in the mountains had been the beginning. I would make all of these creatures pay with their lives. When my ears recovered, I heard a couple of things. First, the Mexicans had woken up and started shouting in Spanish. Second, something jabbered, just out of sight. I ran around the edge of the truck towards the sound. I took a 3-point firing stance on sight of my targets. 2 shots. 2 more of the beasts died. Their green and black molted skin lost their luster. The first one didn't have time to change its eye color. Its spines deflated back into its head. The other tried to make me nauseous, but it didn't affect me. I was looking at it, but also not looking at it. I wanted it dead. I didn't want eye contact. The second one flopped over the unconscious trucker. I heard someone running towards me. I backed away from the corner of the truck and waited. I had no chance to make the corn before the runner could see me. The Mexican saw the first beast and shouted, "Crazy killed our chupacabras! I'll kill her if she..." He turned the corner. I fired. I had missed the man. He was much shorter than my aim. He fell back on his butt and hands. He scrambled away. "She's got a gun! Get out of here!" The truck's tires squealed as it peeled away. I ran around the side. I caught sight of the bumper as it disappeared into the rows and rows of corn. Where they had parked was a small pile of beers and 3 empty cages. Were those creatures pets? Fighting animals? For sale? I don't know who bought chupacabras, or why. I checked the trucker. He was breathing, but he had a cut in his neck. I kicked the bodies of the dead creatures of the Ultra Terror off him. Then, I returned to the gas station. I found the phone and called 911. Told them that a trucker had fallen and hurt himself while fighting off some mangy dogs. I retreated to the corn rows. I still had many hundreds of miles to go before I hit the Ozarks. I wasn't going to explain myself to the police. I wasn't going to explain the dead chupacabras. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. I had water, food, and even more change left over from the trucker's generosity. As I left, I heard sirens. I don't know what happened, detail by detail, but I like to think the trucker turned out just fine. I thought I was going to make it without any other issues. What I found hiding in the cornfields? Well, I'll tell you some other time, Control. Morrow out.
Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio Licensed under an Attribution Non-Commercial, Share-alike International License. This episode was written by Ben Wheeler and performed by Celina Saucedo. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Kid Dickerson performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhost, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.